Good morning. Good to see you all. Who had a good day yesterday? Anybody? Who had a better night last night? Couple? Only a few? Is that it? Who is seriously regretting your decisions post 9 o'clock? Anybody in the room? Yeah. All right, well, it's good to be together today. So welcome back to day 2 at Cority Connect. Hope you did have a great day yesterday. Today, team, we're gonna turn the page. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about all of you, as Ron mentioned. We're gonna talk about your journeys, challenges, opportunities, your business cases, and most importantly, your outcomes. You know, we're not trying to measure up to what was shown yesterday because that's very visionary, it's aspirational, it's a wonderful vision for us all to hold, but sometimes it can feel unobtainable when you're in the everyday. And today we're talking about what progress looks like from where you actually are. You do not need to be advanced to be sitting here. You do not need to have everything figured out, but today is just about relevance. So just a little context, you know, as we all sit here today, it's a time I think that we can all agree is marked by both challenges and opportunities. EHS leaders, all of you, you're being asked to do more with less every single day. You're being asked to deliver more and deliver that more faster. And within all of that, there's this paradox that you also are being asked to manage greater and greater risk across many different vectors. So contrast that with what we talked about yesterday, this promise, right? There's a promise that we can actually, as an industry, move from reacting to anticipating. And many of you have talked about that, and you'll hear more about that in the street-style videos that we're showing throughout the morning. We have a promise that we can actually evolve together, that we can move from reporting compliance, very simply, to actually designing it into every single day workflows, whether that's in the field, in the clinic, or in a warehouse. And there's this backdrop that we've talked about, which is the 2 letters, AI. How many times did we hear it yesterday, right? And how much did it come up in conversation? For any of you who haven't spent time out in the Connect Lounge looking at Cortex AI, by the way, do so, just to inform yourself. What use cases are actually relevant? What are our customers telling us is really going to change their businesses from an AI perspective? But we have this idea of these incredible gains from AI, and there's a fundamental shift that has to happen. And it's that EHS data can no longer stay in silos. It has to be incorporated into where the work is actually happening. It might look different to different people. So it could be handheld devices, wearables. Many of us have those day to day. It could also be your production systems. It could also be operations dashboards in your business. But where the work happens is where we need to have the intelligence. And amongst all of this, there's kind of this heavy weight that all of you, all of us bear, which is we have to do more with less. And how do we do that when nobody wants to change? And it's so frustrating, and we're gonna hear about that today in some of these customer stories, when nobody wants to change. Ron spoke about this yesterday, if you remember. He talked about leaders must drive change in the organizations, and it stuck with me when I saw that on his slide yesterday. So we know we have to drive change, but we just hate it, don't we? We just hate it. Anybody remember, by the way, when Amazon looked like this? 1 million books. Some companies and people figure out how to embrace change, and they create opportunity from change. Others are stifled by it. So come with me on a little journey. I'm gonna share a story. Many years ago, who's from Boston? Anybody in the room from Boston? 2 people is all I got from Boston? All right, I heard you guys finally got some spring, which is great news. After what, 7 feet of snow or something? So there was this guy named Frederick Tudor. This is Freddie, and this is the mid-19th century in the US outside Boston. And Freddie had this idea that he was actually going to cut blocks of ice from frozen rivers and lakes around Boston and he was gonna sell frozen water. And people thought he was a little crazy, because he had guys out on these frozen ponds with pickaxes, like laboring to cut big, huge blocks of ice. But I think he had a thought and an idea that this might be useful, and maybe he could even make a buck off of it. So he started harvesting ice outside of Boston. Well, pretty soon, word of this got around, and before too long, the Caribbean countries were saying that would be really, really useful, not just to keep drinks cool, but to help us keep food longer, to preserve the lifespan of different foods. So he started shipping down to the Caribbean, but he found out that actually a lot of the ice was melting along the way. So he's like, I gotta figure this piece out. So he actually constructed some new ships. And what they did is they knew that sawdust would help prevent the ice from melting. And so he constructed ships that allowed them to surround the ice with sawdust and to preserve about 2/3 of the haul would end up being preserved by the time he got to the Caribbean, and he would charge a lot for that ice. And then he would turn around and go back home. Well, more and more people started hearing about this, and pretty soon, Freddie was shipping to India, he was shipping to Africa, and he was known as, I'm not making this up, you can check it in Wikipedia, he was known as the Ice King. How about that for a nickname? I think I'm just gonna adopt something like that. So Freddie had to start solving problems, right? He had to build the special ships, he had to insulate the ice to actually go and sell it. He actually figured out that he could attach these giant blades to a plow horse and allow the horses to actually, the horsepower to cut the ice instead of asking men to break their backs with pickaxes every day. So technological innovation, he started figuring that piece out. And then he discovered that once he got ice to his destinations, it was melting very quickly. So then they had to figure out how to actually create storage facilities. And so they were building storage facilities all over the Caribbean and India and Africa, almost like distribution centers. He would drop it off, they would be able to store it and then distribute. So where am I going with all of this? So as you can imagine, something changed. Freddie was solving certain problems. He was solving problems related to his current product. He was solving problems related to transporting, and everything had to do with cut ice from a river. But you guessed it, the world has changed, and anybody with a kitchen knows, that's a modern kitchen, I should say, knows that we don't do that anymore because we started producing factory ice. And instead of solving that problem, Freddie was really busy solving the problems about his existing product. This story illustrates just how critical it is to seize these technological moments. We're in one. We've all agreed that we're in one of those moments, and it's up to us to figure out, how do you seize that moment? How do you drive change as a leader? And how do you bring the best of that new technology and, yes, ask people to change? Now we all have refrigeration, so nobody cuts ice from ponds anymore, but we do still produce it in factories. And Frederick Tudor, the Ice King of Boston, never made 1 penny on the new technologies. AI is asking us to define a new problem. At these moments, you all, we all, have to ask ourselves, are we solving the right problem? This story is one of many that illustrates how critical it is to seize technology, both for your personal benefit as well as for the benefit of your company and, yes, your customers and end users. What are we focused on here at Cority? Well, we're very focused right now on giving a smart assist to experts in the field, the clinic, and the warehouse. To drive this point home, I'm going to share one more story, if you will allow me this morning. I'd like to take you back to London, 1854. There is a massive cholera outbreak across London. And in a couple of days, over 157 people have perished. And within 1 week, that number is more than 500. 500 people dead. And there's a guy named Jon Snow. It's not the guy from Game of Thrones. It's a different Jon Snow. So Jon Snow starts making tick marks on a map. This is the map. This is Soho. Who's from London? Anybody in here? Are you near Soho? Do you know where this is? Broad Street? Okay. So Broad Street in London. And what you'll notice is John starts making tick marks that represent the deaths of individuals over that period of time. And he starts to notice something that I think is pretty obvious in this map. He notices that a lot of these are centered around Broad Street. And oh, how interesting, there's a water pump right on the corner. And John starts thinking, you know, a lot of this stuff is born in water. And this is getting exponentially worse day by day. So he goes to the town council and he lobbies them to simply do one thing, one small thing. Does anybody know what he asked them to do? Yeah. Remove the handle from the Broad Street water pump, please. In doing that, Jon Snow saved hundreds, if not thousands of lives. So it's pretty easy to think, oh, this guy is probably like, you know, he's a mathematician, he's a scientist. How many of you would think that, you know, a statistician, something like that, he saw something? Well, here's the interesting part of the story. Jon Snow, my friends, was a doctor. Domain expertise matters. And it can be made so much more effective if we just provide a smart assist. Imagine if John hadn't had to take the days to go around to all these households and make tick marks on a map and to try to figure out what was going on. This is almost like geospatial analytics back in the day, right? He is figuring this out in the moment, but how long did it take him to create this map? How long would it take you to go interview all these families and hear their stories? Imagine if the data surfaced this insight to John. Imagine how much faster he could have gone to the town. Imagine how many more lives he could have saved if the data were working for him and he didn't have to go and do that work. That's what we're talking about. That's the impact that we can drive in this room. I believe that connections like this exist throughout the EHS work that you're all doing, throughout the work. I think you believe that too. Connections like this are what save lives and keep people healthy and safe. It's our collective job in this room to not just see patterns like this, but to prevent. And everyone here is talking about how AI will change our jobs and how it will change our lives, and I think it already is changing our lives. I have 3 small kids, and they use ChatGPT daily. But there is no other place where having a human in the loop is more important than in health and safety. And that's our vision here at Cority. We want to preserve the expertise, we want to preserve the human in the loop, and we want to provide a smart assist wherever we can to get to these results and actions faster. So AI can do a whole lot to synthesize data and to look for patterns and to make recommendations, but at the end of the day, when it comes to health and safety, people, the people we love, right, Ron? The people need to take action. And at Cority, our focus is helping to bring insights in our system that drive action for real impact.